Hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video, still looking at the HackTheBox Business CTF. We're jumping into the forensics category. In the last video we showcased that bad ransomware challenge. Now in this video, we'll hop on over to this old school challenge down here. It has some description and challenge information we can take a look at. It says this phishing doc was reported by a user. Figure out what it does and see if you can find the flag inside, and we'll have to download some data here. So go ahead and click on that download button and that should get that started for us. Let's move into a directory where we can work with this. I'll hop over to the HackTheBox directory for the business CTF, and it's in the forensics category and the old school that I had previously completed, but let's make a new directory for YouTube that we can work out of. Let's hop in here and move that downloaded file, I think that was forensics old school, into this directory. With that, we can go ahead and unzip this, and we have an oldschool.xls file to work with. Now, looking at that, that is going to be a composite document file to v2 document, little endian, Windows version, etc., etc. Hey, and this is 0xdf. Good stuff. It's a Microsoft Excel file. Now, with Word documents and stuff like this in the forensics category or phishing or malware analysis, oftentimes my original, first thing to do as part of the workflow is check for the presence of other macros and things with OLE VBA. That is something worthwhile to do, and I'll try and run it on that old school one. This actually just dies, apparently, but it does tell me, hey, there are no VBA macros found. Aye. So now I'll just kind of want to start to play with it and look at it. I'm running on Linux, so if there were macros, and I'll try and open this thing with LibreOffice, we'll see if it does anything. You don't have to worry about the bad ransomware previous file. Let's just open this thing up in LibreOffice Calc. And yeah, thanks for the tip of the day, guys. Looks like I have an Excel document that was supposedly created in a previous version of Microsoft Excel. To be able to view this content, click on Enable Editing from the yellow bar and then click Enable Content. That's a usual lure, right, to deceive innocent end users and victims to actually allow this macro to run and execute on that target or victim computer. If you were to open this up in legitimate Microsoft Office Excel, right? Not gonna work for us because we're smarter than that, but it does make me kind of want to look around. This looks like an image file that I could move around, but all of these other cells, as you see, A, B, C, etc. for columns, and then these rows numbered here. That's looks like it's kind of hidden and covered with stuff or removed portions of it. Let me try to think if there are any cells with invisible content, right? Or the content and the data text represented here is just in a different color. Maybe white to match the white cell background, right? So I'll select everything. I just hit Control A on my keyboard, and then I'll try and just change every color to A. Nice. Now I see some things here potentially hiding behind this image as I were to drag that around. But a lot of this looks kind of like nonsense. I'd have to think, oh, is this base 64? And I'll scroll around to see if there's anything else maybe hiding off in the corners. And I don't see anything, which is odd to me. If this were to be actually base 64, we could try and copy this. We'll hop back to our terminal and we'll try to just make a new little instance here. Let's echo that thing into base 64 tac D to try and decode it, but that gives me nonsense. Same thing with the others. We could try those, but that's not exactly useful. Dies. Yep. Okay. Well, what do we do with just this then? Now, if you have that, attentive mind, or you're looking around with your eyeballs and such, you might notice way down at the very, very bottom, and I realize this is kind of small to see here. It does tell me sheet 1 of 2, which means there's potentially another sheet that I could try and access. If I were to try and move around, you'll see that LibreOffice is only showing me sheet number 1. If I were to try and maybe create or insert a new sheet, that doesn't exactly help me. I want to get to that other sheet, but it is hidden. Can I unhide some sheets? Truthfully, I don't know how to do that in LibreOffice, and especially because this is supposed to be a legitimate Excel file in Microsoft Excel. So there are some utilities and tools that we could use to actually display and unhide these very hidden sheets that just straight up don't show up in the graphical user interface or in the GUI of Excel and LibreOffice here. We could track some of those down. Let's talk about Unhide Excel sheet, and it's got to be a tool like on GitHub, right? Here are a couple good ones. As usual, I'll just Google one thing and then click on the top things that are displayed here. Every single entry I want to take a look at for my own research. So this is Excel sheet Unhide. It's a PowerShell script to reveal and unhide hidden Excel spreadsheets and workbooks. This is especially relevant for malicious exe-cell, that's a good typo, Excel files that are using Excel for macros, since they tend to hide within the workbook and the macro themselves. Now that's a worthy point, because what we're looking at is an Excel 4.0 macro. And I put macro in like sort of air quotes because it may be not a macro in the traditional way that you might think of it. Like if I were to try and, I don't know if I even can view macros in LibreOffice Excel. I guess I'm not going to try. Can I go into view maybe? No, I don't need to publicly make a shame of myself any more than I already have. So let's continue onward. Let's talk about those Excel 4.0 macros. And we could talk about malware in that sense. Excel 4.0 macros, this is the precursor to Visual Basic for applications, or how we might traditionally consider a macro now. It's a legacy feature, old feature, hence the name OldSchool for this challenge, incorporated into Microsoft Excel for backwards compatibility reasons. Microsoft warns in its support documents that enabling all macros can cause potentially dangerous code to run, as we know that, right, with that. There are a lot of other blogs and research all about this. If you're really interested in it, some of it I think is very cool. Sneaky Monkey, this way last one that I opened up, is super good. Old forgotten feature gets abused. And there's previously been some research on it, and we've seen it in lots of different legitimate malware campaigns. Quackbot is one that I recently did some public analysis on in a webinar. But it's kind of a neat trick if you're looking at some of that bad guys. The Excel 4.0 macros will use formulas in various cells to execute code top down, left to right, and oftentimes most likely in hidden worksheets. Kind of sounding exactly like what we're working with here. The issue is being able to unhide some of those worksheets, or maybe expand some hidden columns or things like that. You could probably take a look at this with different utilities as it suggested, and blah, blah, blah. This is actually looks almost identical to what we're seeing here. That's kind of nice. So the thing is, if you're trying to unhide these sheets that are specifically very, very hidden, you'll need to edit the actual bytes and hex of the document itself. It's within that level of hiding some sheets to not be displayed in the GUI. You could do that magic in a hex editor if you really wanted to, or you could potentially use some tools to be able to do that. They actually reference this Excel sheet Unhide, which I think is very, very good, and that's what we'll go ahead and use. I do have it downloaded in a Windows VM so we can start to play with it. When running the Excel sheet Unhide script, Excel sheet will remain open for you to enter the password if there is a password. And then you could see this nonsense stuff that it might go ahead and actually try to do or use. Others that are released, etc., etc. This is a really good read and something that if you're interested in, you should totally check out. That's enough of me offering background, though. Let's start to play with this, because this, oh, there's a Python script. Maybe we could use that one? I hope you don't mind, guys. Do you mind? Do you guys mind if I just play? You guys mind if I try some random stuff? Let's do it. Let's do unhide.py. And then slap that bad boy in there. All right, let's mark that as executable, even though we're just going to invoke it with Python 3 anyway. It's just good practice. Looks like we need to supply it. Oldschool.xls. What did you do? I ran the utility. Did you just modify it in place or something? Let's open it up again. I already have it open. Did it? No, don't do that. How about now? Hey, there's our sheet. Cool. Maybe we didn't even have to get into the Windows VM and fire up PowerShell. Looks like that Python script would work. We can see this other sheet, RIXSR, now is visible in the GUI, but of course, everything is still hidden, supposedly, right? It's just in a white text. If we were to select everything once more, let's change the color to everything to red and see if there's any other worthwhile stuff. Maybe somewhere? Did that do anything wonky with that page? I want to scroll down to potentially find some other things. Oh! Gasp. Looks like there is stuff. So if you click on some of these, the representation in LibreOffice might not be the best because it'll try to display some formula type things. Clicking on the formula, though, that will tell you over in the top what it's actually doing. It looks like it's taking a lot of character representations over and over and over again, which is odd. CHR, right, to again get a value from ASCII, taking a decimal number as ASCII. And this isn't really perfect, as you can tell. It's not the most beautiful thing, but there's a lot of it, for one thing. I see, oh, what the heck? HTB donuts. So those representations in characters work just fine. And I guess that's our flag. Yeah? Does anyone else see that? Let's try it. Can I copy just that value, maybe? Let's subble flag dot text. There we go. Got it just fine. We can grab the HTB portion of that, slap that also. No, it's just the prefix, so we don't need to copy like the exact number of M's or anything. There are 2 M's and then there's a donut. And I might have done that the wrong way. If I were to right-click copy from the sheet shell itself, it looks like it behaves. So can I go back to that, please? Thank you. We'll copy that in a disgusting hand jam way. But you know what? A flag's a flag. I think it would still kind of cool to showcase and get some light on Excel 4.0 macros. It is truly old school, hence the name of the challenge, but it's clever. I think if we were to try and actually copy out all this, so let's do some other detective work. If you guys are like, nah, I just want to see the flag, turn off the video, then friggin' see ya. But if we wanted to examine more of this, we absolutely can. So let me go ahead and submit that flag for one thing. Success. You like that Super Smash Brothers like announcer? Success. Something stupid. Let's try to copy all this out and see what really it does. I'm looking at some of the other fields here because I see, name, virtual alloc. Can I copy all of this? All the stuff on the side here? So you got to keep in mind that this will run top down, left, right. So this section comes first when it tries to execute all this. Obviously, what you can see by the broken cells where it errors on a name, but some of these are actually going to get valid stuff. Like P309, it's going to try and reference some other portion down here, which has a number included in it. C thread being created, you can see these up at the very top, if that's not clear. Obviously, W process memory, that starts to look pretty suspect. Same thing with valloc or virtual alloc. Could I copy these out and actually have them be displayed in a relatively worthwhile way? No, not really. Can I can't copy the actual value? Wah. That's relatively annoying. Maybe if we were to do this in Windows, it might behave for us, because LibreOffice could be doing super sus stuff. Let's get it over there, shall we? Again, just for exploratory sake, I know the video is practically over because we got the flag, but let's bump around. Let's use Updog to host this because I have a Linux virtual machine that I'm using in the back here and this Windows virtual machine that I want to bring it into. So I'll get over back to my terminal here. And we can use Updog to host this back in the Windows realm. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's on 179090 for me. Okay, so let's download this. And looks like I already have it downloaded. Fantastic. Lots of other stuff. Let's see if Microsoft Defender is going to be like, don't you dare. Now let's try to, God, I don't really want to enable editing. I'm in a virtual machine, whatever. Just don't enable content. How about that? We're playing with fire, ladies and gentlemen. So P, as a big, long field, as you can see here, needs to be scrolled way, way down to get to this stuff. Yeah, so this looks much, much better as values and content that we could see. If I'll try and full screen this. Actually, let's not. Let's grab this and slap that back into a Sublime text window over here so we can analyze this a little bit more. So we will go to different cells to do those specific things. But as you can see, we're registering different function calls, grabbing them out of a Win32 API. So the kernel32.dll, we'd be able to grab virtual alloc, calling it valloc. We'd be able to grab write process memory, calling it w process memory. Same thing with create thread, et cetera, et cetera. Then we can search for the workspaces here, et cetera. Allocate a certain amount of memory. I was going to say money. Setting some values, allocating memory, etc., etc., and then RTL copy memory, Q user APC. So it would probably try and run this sort of thing. So I would have to think it's going to end up grabbing all of the data that would be represented in this right-hand side here. So let me move this a little bit further so you can see it. If all of these characters are going to be represented, and at the end of it, eventually, there is a HackTheBox representation, and maybe we don't see that very easily in Microsoft Excel because it's literally going to display the formula for us. Yeah, so we got lucky looking at it in LibreOffice. But if we were to take all of this, we could try to, I guess, get the character representation of all this data. Because part of me wonders, is this shellcode? Is this something that it's going to end up executing with that write process memory and copy and exec and stuff? Worth a try, you know, worth kind of tinkering with. And again, this is all exploratory. This is all just us muffing around. Let's paste this all in. I'm going to use some Sublime text keystrokes and magic. I'll hit Control A to select everything. Control Shift L to create multiple cursors. And then let's remove all of the equal signs at the very, very start. We can remove all of the character prefixes. Yeah. And let's try and remove all of the closing parentheses and ampersands and replace them with a comma so that this looks like it's just a big long list. Now, a lot of these other trailing parentheses, we can, again, create multiple cursors and then just add a comma after we've removed that at the very, very end. So I have all this stuff now. And let's actually save this as a tinker.py, I suppose. There we go. So now let's just say data equals all of this. And then we'll do a stupid shebang line. User Boyne, environment Python 3. So for D in data, we'll go ahead and really take the character representation of that. And realistically, we can join that all as a list comprehension. So we just spit this all out. We'll print that out on standard output and join from an empty string to just display all that. Cool. Okay, so Updog's still doing its thing. So let's run Python 3 tinker. And then we have a lot of randomness. Would we have a flag in that? Did I do that wrong? Let me try and pass that to strings. I mean, okay, so there's our flag. But part of me wonders if that was encoded in some weird way. Was that HTTP output somewhere in here that I just didn't see? I see the underscore. Where are the M's? Maybe I misrepresented the data in some way. Because part of me is thinking like, let's try and redirect that. How about we actually consider all of these? I'm going to sneeze just a second. Let me pause the video. All right, quick reminder, real human being has to sneeze sometimes. Let's display all of this, and let's actually just consider this a byte array of the data. Yeah? So then if I were to do that, byte array with an extra A, save. I don't know about that one either. I mean, there's our flag, smack dab right there. But what the F is this supposed to be, other than just random data? Stuff. We could try, maybe, to use like speakeasy. And if I can remember how to run speakeasy, I always fail on that. Did FireEye take that down yet? I know there was like some worry. Oh, all of FireEye's GitHub stuff's going to go away. Oh, run speakeasy. Incredible. I probably need a little Python prefix there. Run speakeasy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm super sorry, speakeasy is a portable modular binary emulator designed to emulate Windows kernel and user mode malware. So it's like telling you the stuff that shellcode could do without running it, just emulating it. And that's kind of very, very slick, very, very cool. You can oftentimes use it to look at shellcode that might get a reverse shell connection or stuff like that. They don't show any output anywhere, but they just give you examples. So in these examples, right, T to specify the input, RA as the architecture. Let's experiment, and maybe I'm completely wrong in this. That's very, very possible. It's called, what do we call this thing? Stuff? Pretty sure. Yeah. No. Tag T. I'm a stinking idiot. That's why we do this stuff live. Tuck R, tuck A, x86. Try it. Nope. It's called stuff, but maybe it just doesn't exactly know what it's working with. We'll wait for 0xDF to come tell us what all that other nonsense was. And maybe I just am misrepresenting things, but we had some fun. We were tinkering. We were playing. That's the whole point. Copy memory tells me, though, it's going to allocate memory and put stuff in there. So anyway, learning lessons, takeaway, and good value to gain from this challenge is that Excel 4.0 macros are a thing. They're legacy. They're often used in malware and stuff just like this. So kind of a neat thing to showcase. I really like that. And thanks for bringing it up to the world. Should totally take a look at that and read some of those other articles about these things, because you might be able to maybe showcase some wacky stuff. And there are good tools that you could add to your toolkit to unhide some of this stuff. Yeah. I like that one here in Python because it saved temporarily us from jumping into the Windows realm and using that PowerShell script. I do have that downloaded though, and that's what I traditionally would use if I'm doing regular analysis on Windows. So I'll hop into PowerShell super quick. I think it's in the downloads folder. Yeah, this is it. So it'll tell you obviously what to do, and it'll extract it all and carve out those hidden sheets for you. Yeah. That's it, everybody. We got our flag, we got the challenge done, and I hope there was some fun nuggets in there. If you haven't seen Excel 4.0 macros before, now you have in the old school challenge. thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this is, as always, a boisterous, random, off-the-wall video showcase, but I hope you had some fun and learned some new things. If you did like this video, please do all those YouTube algorithm things. You know I would love if you could like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. If you'd like to support me, there are links to Patreon and PayPal down on the bottom. I super appreciate all of your generous support and donations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.